Hello and good evening, afternoon or morning depending on wherever you are watching from in the world. Welcome to FRL Race Hub here on YouTube. My name is Gogs Brown and I'll be calling the action as it unfolds this evening. Coming up we have live coverage of Formula Racing League's Taco Tuesday Championship on Assetto Corsa Competizione. This is round 3 at what could possibly be the most famous circuit in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Last week we were live with Tier 2, some incredibly close battles, but this week we are with the future of FRL, the Pro-Am drivers or the Tier 3 drivers, whatever your persuasion is. These are the rising stars of Formula Racing League, and we will get to see who will be making their climb up the ladder over the next few seasons. And for the very first time, they will be brought to you live on FRL Race Hub on YouTube. Last week in this tier it was Daniel Starklov who was the eventual winner at Laguna Seca. Doesn't look like he's currently in the server. Oh yes, he's just joined late, the 1-2-3 car, so he's yet to start. But he was the race winner last time out. He showed his pace that caught the admin team's attention with a potential move to silver on the cards for him in the future. Jochen Vereth continued his strong start to the season with another podium, and Matty Dunn rounded off the top 3. The championship is extremely close though, with only 6 points separating the top 10. It's anyone's game this season. Hopefully after tonight the series will begin to take some shape as we watch Adrianov in his 999 pink Bentley drift a little bit off the circuit. Let's have a closer look at what we can maybe expect this evening. First of all, on the left hand side of your screen you can see the driver list, all the drivers with their race numbers on the left hand side. That will be with us the entire evening in the same location. You can see whichever driver you are supporting and what number they are and their relation to the cars around them. Right now it's showing their difference to the fastest lap set in practice by Guzinov in the 13 Ferrari. On the top right of your screen you can see the race timer, which tells us right now there are 3 minutes remaining in the free practice session, and just under that we can see the current weather forecast, track condition and temperature. On the middle of your screen, that's going to move to the bottom right shortly. You can see the track map with all the numbers and dots. That represents obviously each car with their race number. And you can see whether that driver is on a valid or invalid lap. Drivers on invalid laps have a blue dot. Drivers off circuit such as the 711 of Glenn, he's just turned to the pit lane now. Yellow flag obviously means the driver is stationary and currently the cause of an incident, and a white dot implies a slow moving driver. The race itself, like last week, will have one mandatory pit stop for each driver where they must take on fuel. A tyre change is optional, but honestly, given the temperatures just now, is very likely. There is a risk of rain in the air. It's very humid here at Indianapolis. A 25% chance of rain at some point over qualifying and the race. However, it will be the heat that is the cause of concern for most of the drivers. Currently 31 degrees ambient, 38 degrees track temperature. Is exceptionally warm here. On Sunday, in the 40-minute sprint race that FRL had, some drivers were really struggling with the left rear tyre. That is the tyre that is under all the load as they come around the long right hand corners that they have here, all the right hand acceleration zones. It really does wear out the left tyres, especially the left rear. The front rights as well also are in danger of graining around this circuit. It is a very tricky circuit, and that sort of graining effect you get on the front right tyre with all the little marbles, all the little bits of rubber scraping across the surface of the wheel. It's very similar to when you use, say, a rubber or an eraser, if you're American, and all the little bits are on the paper, it's scraping around the place. It's a little bit like that. You can work through it, but you end up with about 10 to 15 minutes of horrendous understeer for the drivers until that grip eventually comes back to them. So give me a quick 2 minutes break as we wait the start of qualifying. I'm going to get a quick refresher and I will be back shortly. Don't go anywhere.
Green light. Go, go, go.
Okay, everyone, thank you very much for your patience. We are back for the start of our 15-minute qualifying session. The Pro-Am tier is going to get us underway. It is the fastest driver in free practice. Guzhinov is in the 13 Ferrari is going to get us underway. Just behind him, in the world's slowest pit lane, we have Yannick Gerling in the 95 car just behind, and we have a driver I'm going to give particular attention to this evening, Mr. Greg Wood. Turnabout is fair play, and at least he's driving the correct vehicle this evening. The Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. Just behind him, and there is a pre-apology coming for the pronunciation of this, Buhestein in the 111 BMW. We're going to go with that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Please leave a comment if someone can correct me. And just behind him, we're going to have Glenn in the 711 Ford Mustang. There is Harris in the chat there saying Wood is not in the correct car and I have to stop lying. We'll find out at the end. Will he finish in the top 3 like he is just now on the timing screens, or will he rage quit after speeding into the pit lane? Only time will tell. As all the drivers now begin to filter out, we have 19 drivers in the server this evening. There is plenty of space available, so everyone should get a very good opportunity to set the best qualifying time they can. But it is Guzhinov coming round the final corner, and we jump on board with the Ferrari for a guided tour of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Bring the car up to the left hand side. You want to brake somewhere between the 500 and 400 boards on the left hand side. Turn in early, don't take up too much of the inside curb. You can run over to the left, but you want to keep it in the middle to maximise your speed through turn 2 and 3. Turn 4 is a very tricky corner to pin your braking. Not really any landmarks around there. The car does grip a little bit off the curb on the left hand side and sweep it round the right hander again. Do not go all the way to the left to open up the entry into the first of the 2 switchbacks. Very easy for the back end to drift out as it does there, and then the second switchback, ignore the track limit, run all the way out to the grass. You are allowed to do so, and bring the car gently over to the right hand side, the shortest way to do so. Brake around about the 200 board, again big curb on the inside, careful over that, and then a quick right left switchback. Watch these curbs on the inside, they are razor sharp, something the drivers need to be careful on the race. Very important corner now. You can cut a lot of that inside corner, but the track limits are strict. Be sure to keep one wheel on the curb. This turn is an acceleration zone, one of the treacherous ones we were talking about earlier on, and you want to brake before the 300 marker for this 90-degree right. Again, swing it back over to the right hand side, late apex to maximise the exit speed onto the start finish straight, and the final right hander, foot down, yes, does not lift. Great confidence by Guzhinov over the start finish line and sets a provisional lap time of invalid lap. No, he doesn't, he's a 1:36.790, that's the time to beat so far. Now on the left hand side you're going to see drivers post lap times, and those times now tumble as they come down the start finish straight, as Wood goes 2.2 seconds down initially. Glenn, the next car to cross the line, he's up through the gears. He goes into P2, he's 0.7 off the pace of Guzhinov's time, but he has set a valid lap time. Williams in the mint green and orange Aston Martin. That's not a mint green, that's some other kind of green. And ginger wheels on his car. He comes up now through the gears, and Williams goes into P5. So we have 10 minutes here. The cars are going to have time to set multiple laps should they wish. It's unlike Sunday, unlike Super Sprint Sunday, it is not a one-shot qualifying. Drivers do have the opportunity to set multiple laps. Which brings me on to my next point. Formula Racing League does host, obviously, this Tackle Tuesday. They have Super Sprint Sunday, as the name suggests, on a Sunday, and the Late Night World Tour, which takes place on Thursday evenings. As we have G Love, who's just managed to join the server in time for qualifying. Good that he's managed to make it this evening. As Cablo goes way left, I think, to let some drivers through. We've got some more drivers coming through here. Actually, you need to be very careful. He's in the middle of the circuit. He does manage to get out of the way of the Aston and BMW coming round now. There was nearly a bit of treacherous driving there from Cablo as he brings it back now onto the track. As Adrianov flew down the inside there. You have to question if car number 1 is indeed on a hot. Oh, what's happened there? 2 cars off circuit. Very interesting situation there as Pisarik allows Troxman through. So he'll just be lining up his lap. On board the BMW of Burstein now. Composed through that corner, which is usually very dangerous for the oversteer. How does he manage into the first of the 2 switchbacks? Again, just the back end getting a little bit out under his pedal work, and maximises the exit onto the back straight. Now he's got Cablo just behind. He'll need to be careful he doesn't give Cablo a nice tow. Currently halfway through qualifying, Guzhinov on a 1:36.790, Glenn 0.12 behind, and Dunn a further 10th behind him. Starklov within half a second in P4, and Wood 8 tenths behind but in P5. Yellow flags out for 999. That is Adrianov, who's lost it, going round the first of the 2 switchbacks. Round that final corner now, and see, he's just giving Cablo a lovely little tow onto that back straight, and that's going to maximise that Bentley straight line speed off Cablo. As you go, Cablo goes P7, Burstein goes into P13. Here he is, the cursed Sky McLaren livery, the 777 car off Harris. Hopefully he'll be looking to break that curse this evening. Round the second to last turn now. Let's jump on board with him as he gets some horrendous understeer out of that final corner. 16th. Some time to find then for the Sky McLaren. Didsbury and Love still in the pit lane. Here comes the Aston Martin of Trevor Mendes. Now, the drivers need to be nice to Trevor this evening. He is one of Formula Racing League's newest stewards, new to the game, so thank you very much for the help. And we'll be focusing very highly on your driving standards, as you now have as an example to set. Comes round the final corner, clips that apex beautifully. Yes, right on the slightly tighter section of the curb. Up through the gears now and across the yard of bricks. He goes, he takes 4/10 off his time, but it's not enough to move him up a position. He's still in P13. Sauceda in the 44 BMW now. Got some time to find. Pisarek still showing 51.8 seconds off the pace. What's happened to the number one car? He's out there just now, so hopefully that will change. I think that's maybe a timing glitch of some kind. But the BMW driver now up through the gears. He surely finds time. He does. He finds half a second, so he's bringing himself closer to the back of Harris. Speaking of Harris, here he comes. Great lap by the 777 Sky car. He's now up into P8. And Dunn's taking Guzhinov, but Guzhinov's got the toe down the straight, and that makes a massive difference. 36.580 takes provisional pole by 2/10 of a second. On board with Glynn, coming round the final corner now. Here he comes. You can see where the curb just pokes out just a little bit. That's where you want to get the front right tyre just over and no more. And across the line, he doesn't improve. Still time to find for the Mustang. Here comes Starkov. Down the back straight, again pinpoints the braking very late on the brakes in that lemon yellow Ferrari. I'm going to call it the limoncello car. Clips that front left over that razor sharp curb, and you can see how much of that corner he cuts. That will maximise his speed onto this short acceleration zone. And these brake marker boards can be very misleading. But he gets the brakes perfect as the car ahead dives into the pit lane. Starkov's opened up the final corner. He's got potentially a chance of a small tow from Trotman just in front. There's a car parked on the racing line. Luckily it ports back to the pit lane. And Starkov's not able to improve on this lap. 3 minutes remain then. Gozhinov's coming round the final corner now. What can he do? Any improvement? Not on this lap. Dunn's not far behind him. Hot on his heels in qualifying and on circuit. Again, no improvement from the Aston Martin. Starklov's jumped Glynn, but it is now Glynn coming round the final corner. And across the line now. Again, no improvement. Only 20 milliseconds separate Starklov and Glynn. The Taser in the Aston Martin, a driver we've not seen too much of. Again, no improvement on this lap. Brustein seems to be coming to a stop as he comes across the line there. Mendes, again, not able to find any time. Omarov in the Grello Porsche. That's green and yellow. Across the line now. P11's a decent lap. FRL veteran Paul Trotman, the white, purple and yellow. And he's went a little bit wide. Horrendous understeer coming round the final corner. He needs to be careful. That might invalidate his next lap. ask Gareth Harvey all about that after the race in the Discord if you want more information. Subject of a lot of controversy last night. Guzhinov not able to improve. He's going to get one more chance. Car 84 is off track. That's Lee Cablow. His qualifying is now done for this evening. Here, speaking of done, here comes Dunn, and he's not done enough. Starting P2, Glenn. Now what can Glenn do? As he hits the wall, just for good measure, leave a little bit of Mustang paint on the white wall. Starklov still out there though. Starklov with the win last time out at the back end, loses it, he's in the wall. That's the end of his qualifying. Starklov, ambition ahead of adhesion, lights the rears and straight to the scene of the accident. He's already having an accident as he comes round that corner. Mendes across the line, does find half a second, does move himself up, and he is done for this evening. Here comes Gregory in the Lamborghini. He doesn't find time, but he's got another 20 seconds, so he will get one more lap. Unless he's decided that is indeed enough for him. There was a car leaving the pit lane, it sounds like. And Harris using every available millimetre off the circuit. Does he get that horrendous understeer? He doesn't lift. The right foot is planted to the ground. He comes across the line, checker flag out. Harris doesn't improve, unfortunately. It's not enough. Trotman behind as well, P16. Car number 13, that's Guzhinov. Can he do one last burst? He can. Shaves a little bit off that time to make it slightly harder for Dunn. He is the man just behind. He comes across the line now. Is it enough? Can he eat into that gap? He does! 10 milliseconds! Dunn takes pole position by 0.01 seconds. Absolutely incredible lap from the Aston Martin driver. Nothing to pick between them. Great stuff. Greg Ruby said he'd be the last across the line. You won't find too much traction over the dust on the left hand side, the back end of that Lamborghini. Really trying to point the front where it's supposed to go. Gets the right foot to the floor. We wait. He doesn't improve. He stays at P5, and that is the end of an exhilarating qualifying session here for the Pro-Am drivers in Tier 3. Let's have a quick look then at the starting grid for tonight's race, the 70-minute epic blockbuster smash special. It was Matty Dunn who continues his strong start to the season. 136.550. Guzhinov is just behind him. Like we said, 10 milliseconds the difference. And you can see there in Sector 1, Guzhinov had about 0.3 of a second advantage. Sector 2 went to the Aston Martin and it came down. It just wasn't quite enough. I can't work that out. I can't work out why he is in pole there. Someone needs to come and do some maths and make sure those times add up. But 10 milliseconds, incredible stuff. Starklov again, P3 with Glenn in P4. Row 3 will see Wood and Gerline 5th and 6th. Harris in P7, Cablow 8th place. Adrianov in 9th, Bentley's back to back. Neteza rounds off the top 10. Omarov in the Grello Porsche is P11, Williams 12th. Mendes in P13 with Daniel Duda in 14th. Buhestein in P15, Trotman 16th. Pisarek 17th, Soseda in P18. Drivers who did not set a qualifying time, Didsbury, Love and Greenwood will start 19th, 20th and 21st respectively. So we did mention there is a 25% chance of rain this evening. It looks like we're going to receive absolutely none of that, at least in the next 30 minutes. The race, of course, does last 70 minutes this evening. track temperature, very interestingly, has gone up to 39 degrees, extremely warm, potential graining and even blistering off the tyres this evening. Another headache for these drivers to get round. Mr. Retro Ghost in the chat there, dun dun dun, looks a good battle between the top two. Gazyanov and Dunn separated by less distance. Not sure I can say that on a stream. Very small gap between the two front row there. That's over one lap. What will race pace tell us? So I'm going to take a short comfort break just now. We've got 1 minute and 55 seconds before Dunn gets the formation lap underway. I'll leave the stream on, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Hello everyone, thank you for waiting. We are back. We have 20 seconds remaining before the formation lap gets us underway. I'm hearing news in the silver tier, that's tier 2, that they have rain on their server. No sign of that. Absolutely gloriously warm, humid day here in Indianapolis, Indiana. The formation lap about to get underway. I'm going to take a quick second to tell you a little bit more about Formula Racing League, sim racing at its very best. FRL runs 3 championships throughout the season. This is Tackle Tuesday, the Premier Series, with drivers tiered into appropriately paced classes to make sure the racing is as competitive as possible. This is the Pro-Am tier. We also have Silver and Pro, which are taking part simultaneously as well. It is the Pro-Am drivers' turn this evening to show us what they have. As we've just seen a car in the background smash into the wall, not the best advertisement. Is that Greenwood? Greenwood's managed to put himself in the wall already. That's a fantastic start for him. I'm sure he won't be best pleased with that one. But again, one more look is what turn 1 looks like from the view of Didsbury. So FRL has 3 championships. This is Tackle Tuesday. Super Sprint Sunday runs on, as his name suggests, every Sunday. And we have Late Night World Tour, which takes place on Thursday. It's free to take part. And of course, you can do so by logging on to www.thesimgrid.com and signing up. All details on how to take part available on that website. But this is Tackle Tuesday, round 3. A comment in the chat there saying that Greenwood has done a Lance Stroll into the wall. And he is in an appropriately coloured green car this evening as well. But hopefully he doesn't drive like Lance Stroll once the green flag comes out. So 70 minutes this evening, and we have Dunn and Gazyanov, who were separated in qualifying by 10 milliseconds, with Starklov and Glenn only 3/10 behind that pole time as well. Not long remain then. They get into the outer edges of the formation lap. coming into the final sector now. The drivers will now close up into formation 2 by 2 like the arc, as Cablo completely disregards that and goes 3 wide, as the drivers will now ghost between each other as they sort out their positions on the field. As you can see, the drivers at the back panicking, thinking they won't get back to the front in time, but Dunn and Gozhinov are going slow enough to allow that to happen. Remember, 1 pit stop this evening for all these drivers. They will have to take on fuel. They choose to take tyres if they want. It's up to them. I think tyres might be the option. Drivers looking off track there. Adrianov's parked up on the inside of that corner. What's happened to him? We'll come back and hopefully find out a little bit more, but we have Dunn on the left in the blue Aston Martin, Gozhinov in the white Ferrari.
Green light,
And we are green. We're underway here at Indianapolis, round 3, FRL Taco Tuesday. They're side by side. It looks like the Aston Martin of Dunn's got away well. Both these cars not the best at getting off the line. The Grello Porsche darting sideways at Starklov down the inside. It's always very tricky here into turn 1. A little bit of a concertina effect, but they all get through relatively cleanly. But it is Dunn who's got away well. Starklov's showed his nose up the inside into turn 4. Gozhinov cuts him off, makes sure there's nothing happening on that occasion, as they all now dart round into the infield section. Moves potentially happening between Gozhinov and Dunn. Gozhinov's got himself, and Dunn has managed to very wide, and there's contact between the front two. That sends Dunn straight over the apex off the second of the 2 switchbacks, but it is Gozhinov who gets out in front. We'll review that later on, I am sure. But a little bit further back, we've got again 2 cars battling side by side, Aston and Ferrari. It is Gerling squeezing down the inside, nothing doing for him. Dunn has now rejoined, I think he's back in P5 now, P6 maybe for him, for the pole sitter. Not the most ideal start for him. We have got car number 44, that's Soseda, who's been off circuit at the back as well. Small pockets of gaps beginning to form. They're side by side into the final harsh braking zone. Very easy to snatch a brake here. Look, a brake of that Ferrari coming in very deep at the back there. Almost contact. We've got Luke Richards in chat for expressing his frustrations at the drivers, knowing he has some tickets to sort out as one of the stewards in FRL. Hopefully nothing doing. Massive crash there at the back. What's happened there? As Didsbury's went into that wall, similar to Ralf Schumacher did back at Indianapolis in 2005. He might be done for this evening. That was a big shunt. 4-car battle here down P15. We've got Love, Adrianov, Buerstein, and just behind Greenwood, Lotto Lance Stroll, as they now come round turn 2 in that same order as advertised. And I finally get a chance to catch my breath as the drivers begin to settle into a little bit more of a rhythm. So here comes Omarov in the Grello Porsche. He's applying pressure to Mendes. The Aston's so good in a straight line. The Porsche has an amazing turn in on brakes. He does show his nose on the inside. And there's a little side-on-side contact. Bit of door banging, ambitious move by Omarov, but Mendes has stayed ahead for the meantime. As just behind them, Duda's been off circuit as well. He's very wide off circuit. He's almost onto the Speedway pit lane. He'll rejoin it just ahead of that pink the pink Bentley of Adrianov. Intense driving so far in the early stages. Cablo up into P9's got the Aston off Meteza just behind him as the helicopter picks them up down the start finish straight, and the Bentley just stretches his legs, showing the top speed difference. He will need to brake a little bit earlier to get his football pitch off a bonnet slowed down for turn 1. A little bit of nudge off the rear, and Pisarek and Mendes have a little nudge there as well. It looks like Mendes is going to wait for the pink. Oh dear. What is going on here, guys? As Mendes does wait for Pisarek to come round. But not the cleanest of driving is the Aston Martin of Dunn. Gets his wheel on the grass. Luke Richards saying, oh my, in the chat. Absolutely. And yes, that is a nod to my colleagues on a Sunday as well. They'll know what it means, don't worry. So up front, Starkov set the fastest lap off the race, and he's now closing in on the leader. That's Guzyanov still out there from started P2 if you missed the start of the race. Now running in first. And potentially, controversial circumstances that will be clarified, I'm sure, in due course. But right now it's Starkov throwing his lasso round the back of that rear wing, trying to pull himself forward using that slipstream effect. As the pit window now opens, the drivers can now take that mandatory stop anytime now, or between now and the final 5 minutes of the race. They have an hour to make that pit stop. It's up to them when they choose to do so. So, very high pressure, intense start to the race this evening. Some action now down at the back, down the main straight. Here comes Duda down the inside. Brakes early, make sure he doesn't, and space is left by the Porsche. It's good driving all around there. And the number 22 of Greenwood avoids the collision with Pisarek, almost running into the back of him. So we'll just quickly jump back up front again, because Starkov really has closed this gap down to Guzyanov. It is a pretty much dogfight between the two of these, as they're going to try their best to keep this action going as long as possible. Or will they? Will someone blink first and jump into the pit lane and try the undercut? That is when you jump into the pits, get some fresh tyres on, which give you more grip. Means you can go a little bit faster than your rivals. On, oh, that's Gerline and Wood having a good old-fashioned ding-dong round the final sector there. Starkov's dropped off a little bit now, but that's opened up pressure from Wood, and here we have an inter-commentator battle between Wood and Harris. McLaren not making many inroads on the Lamborghini. Harris moves over to the inside, shows his nose. The Lamborghini looks to have been pressured by that, as he's not technically rejoined. He's off circuit. The two drivers side by side round turn 3. Which one of them is going to give up first? Harris is stuck to the inside. Wood will sweep round the outside, taking as much speed as possible, and retains P6 for the meantime. But this one is not over. I'm sure there's a little bit of rivalry between these two as well. They'll want to come on stream on Sunday evening from 8 o'clock as they present FRL Super Sprint Sunday, and they'll want to come onto that commentary stream with bragging rights over the other. So we'll keep an eye on this potentially personal rivalry as the evening goes on. A little bit further back, Mendes is brought up to the back of Sauceda, it looks like, after his off earlier on. On board with the Aston Martin. Strange roll cage there, 2 bars down the middle of the windshield. That would distract me, as that BMW looks set up very stiff as it bounces over the curbs. Doesn't look the most fun to drive. Mendes utilises the entire cub. He's running very wide there. I wonder why he's chosen that line. Maybe try and save the tyres a little bit. As he throws it down the inside, he's went a little bit deep. And contact between the two cars as Mendes allows Sauceda to continue ahead for the meantime. So we're on board now, the passenger seat with Lee Cablow. Right hand drive being the Bentley, of course. The steering wheel on the correct side of the car. As we're situated this camera in his passenger seat. Surprise downshift for Cablo, they're a little bit early. He's got Omarov just ahead of him. He doesn't look like he's got the best exit. The Porsche very good on traction, as we all know. You see the Bentley just eats, tarmac eats that gap in front. Because it weighs about the same weight as 16 consecutive aircraft carriers, it just runs over curbs as if they're not there. As Trotman just ahead, ran a little bit wide, it looks like, and the Taser's got that position up ahead. But here comes Cablo now, he's alongside, he pulls it to the inside. Can he get the car slowed down in time? He can, he leaves a car's width for the Grello Porsche. Great driving from the Bentley driver. The man from Tyneside is doing a fantastic job there. So now Harris appears to have fallen off the back of Wood a little bit here, as he goes a little bit deep into turn 2. As the drivers now begin to just, the gaps begin to sort of eke out just a little bit now. They get into the rhythm, they start thinking about tyres, what fuel are they doing, how much fuel do they need to take on at the pit stop, will they take new tyres at the pit stop. I think with 31 degrees air temperature, 39 degrees track temperature, it's very likely they'll be burning through these tyres very quickly, and they will want to put some fresh boots on their cars. Here comes Cablo and Omarov again, they're side by side coming out into the final sector. That Bentley's going to have the speed advantage, the Porsche advantage on the brakes, and this time Omarov goes way too deep into the corner. He's sent Cablo off circuit. Now I don't know if Cablo will be too pleased with that one. Potentially a revenge pass from the last lap, same corner. Let's see what the Bentley can do in a straight line. We know it's fast in a straight line, as Williams in the Aston Martin scuffs that wall onto the start finish straight, and look at the straight line speed of that Bentley, almost as if it's in a different league. As he goes down the inside, he leaves space, there's a slight tag, and now the Porsche is facing the opposite direction. As Luke Richards watches this, cringing, knowing what's coming later on. 296, that's Grant Didsbury's been off circuit, he's 3 laps down. And unfortunately that green Ferrari is not having a good time this evening. Now we've seen this battle earlier on. Here comes Mendes now, chasing down Pisarik. They are on board with the Aston Martin driver. We're now coming up to complete the 8th lap. As Luke Richards says, he's chewing his nails in disbelief. He knows what the discord is going to look like later on this evening. Just a sea of new incident tickets. He's dreading it. It's going to be hot this week, guys. Give us some time off to go in the sun. Come on. Maybe not myself. I will burn up oh so quickly. Need to get the factor of 100 out, I think. But Luke Richards, I'm sure, has got a slightly darker complexion than myself. I'm very sure he'll be looking forward to whatever little sunshine he can get this week, instead of preparing for round 4 at Suzuka. You think a driver on Super Sprint Sunday in the top 3 of the championship would take it a little bit more seriously, but no, he's going to go outside, unlike some of us, and enjoy the weather while it's here. But speaking of enjoying the weather this evening, here comes Starklov now on the back of Guzhinov. He's caught back up after his earlier fall off. Maybe he's just been bringing the tyres back under temperature. As there's a query now in the chat and a little bit of back and forth in YouTube, where we have someone suggesting gingers cannot go out in the sun, but Luke Richards has advised 10 minutes is safe. So that's good for me to know. I'll take that information under advisement. But right now we've got Starkov and Guzhinov battling hard. A little bit further back we've got another close battle as well, as Cablo is holding up Williams and Adrianov. However, Williams has got a little bit of a compromised exit out of that corner. He's now going to have Adrianov very interested in the overtake. Nothing doing this time. Great defending by Williams, but Cablo's went wide just ahead. And that's going to maybe open the door. He's off again. And Williams has to get off the throttle. And through goes Adrianov round the outside. And now it's Bentley versus Bentley, boat versus boat, barge versus barge. Is Adrianov going to sail round on the racing line? Cablo thinks about going defensive, comes back to the racing line, moves out of the late braking path of Adrianov. But the back end does step out a little bit, but they come out of turn 2. Cablo, Adrianov and Williams 10th, 11th and 12th. A little bit ahead then, and we're caught up with Neteza, who is all over the back off that Sky McLaren, the cursed car as we're calling it. Very cool camera angle there. Round turn 7. Down the final corner they come, and it looked a little bit like the Taser had been closing that gap. Maybe there's a small error from Harris that's allowed the Taser to close up, because he's fell off the back of wood now, 2.7 seconds nearly behind the Lamborghini. Question there in the chat from Ezadi asking why the Sky McLaren car is cursed. Well, a long time ago in a race, 2 or 3 seasons ago, the Sky McLaren car was almost exclusively driven by one Daniel Naisbitt, who continually, whenever drove the car, had someone decide that he was brakes, and continually ended up involved in accidents that weren't necessarily their fault. So the car is indeed cursed, as Rich Haynes points out there. Danny, the source of the curse, needs to come back, step in for one last hurrah and have a good finish in it for once in his life. But right now it is Harris who is trying everything he can to break that curse, but Neteza, who is respectfully not crossing the solid white line for track limits. Keeps position on that occasion. Neteza was eyeing up a look there, showed his nose to the inside, cuts a lot of that inside. He can't do that too often. That will obliterate those rear tyres. And he hugs round the inside off that third to last corner. A mistake from Harris. Onto the back straight he goes, now attacking down the inside. Harris throws it down the inside, keeps the position. That's an amazing job under brakes from the Sky car. Fantastic to see, as Harris was not allowing that move to be done that easily. But it's not over yet. It's not over. Neteza, like a penguin with a fish, will not give up. Looks to pinpoint his braking. Harris goes defensive. Neteza's going to get the good exit as long as he doesn't hit that curb too hard. I think he has maybe unsettled the car, but as we can see, that Sky McLaren is not going anywhere, at least not for the time being. These two giving us a show this evening. Starkov seems to be yo-yoing a little bit at the front. He's dropping off, catching up, dropping off, catching up. He needs to be careful. He's not wearing those tyres out. He's not burning through them. Because he was within a second a couple of laps ago. He dropped to 2 seconds behind and now it's only 1.5. So still very close. And here we go, it is the third attempt. Harris again bouncing over that exit curb on the outside. As Neteza does close down slightly. Harris has missed the apex. Needs to get that braking in check. And we can see that now from the onboard view. Neteza closing the gap on Harris. He's going to get a good exit. He's going to get slipstream here actually. As the helicopter now picks up the two cars, Harris feels the need to go defensive very early and very aggressively. It is Neteza down the outside. They're alongside into the braking point. Who is going to come out in ahead? They both brake at exactly the same point. Space given by both drivers and respect between the two of them as well, as Harris gets very sideways coming out of turn 2. That might open up a move through turn 4 now as well. Nothing doing on this occasion. It's not over yet though. Looking backwards now over the rear wing as the Aston thinks about showing those down the inside. Doesn't quite manage it. Different lines, different approaches. Neteza cutting all kinds of shapes in the rear view mirror of Harris. Now where does Harris position his car here? He goes middle off the track. The Aston tries to go deep and throws it down the inside and makes it stick. Great move from the Aston Martin. Neteza will be thrilled. Harris will be disappointed with that one. It's not over. He's going to keep it going. Again, he pushes very hard. He's got all 4 wheels over the grass. Playing WRC. Keeps it, thankfully, out of the wall, but Harris sampling a little bit of World Rally Championship over the grass there. Unfortunately, that is not the fastest way round the track, and Harris has lost out a couple of positions to his rival in the Aston Martin. And maybe there's suggestions there in the YouTube chat that not only is it cursed, it's now a grass cutter as well as a car. Keeping the lawn nice and tidy is our Harris. So we're now 14 laps into this race. Quick update then, Guzyanov has regained the fastest lap of the race up front from Starkov, who is still within shot, still within the same straight, and Glenn as well, keeping them honest. 7 seconds down. It's easy to blow that 7 seconds in a single pit stop. So we'll keep an eye on that. The pit stop's still yet to come. Dunn is fought his way back up to 4th. There he is. Still driving particularly quickly and well. Yannick Gerling in the 95 Ferrari, 6 seconds off the back of this. Now he's got close pressure from Wood as they approach the blue flag car of Grant Didsbury in the 296 Ferrari. So this is where it could get interesting, and this can open up a potential overtaking move for Wood. As Gerling runs wide, he's going to have to give space to Wood. Wood squeezes him, knowing he's got to give way. A little bit cheeky from the Lamborghini, but you've got to respect the gamesmanship from the experienced commentator that is the Rufafa as he comes round the final corner on to start his 15th lap. And he's going to do so in the top 5. Daniel Duda in the McLaren chasing down Buhestein. And they've got Cablo. No! Cablo spinning on the exit of the penultimate corner, losing the rear end. There's just something absolutely tragic watching a Bentley spin on the grass. I hate to see it, but it has happened, unfortunately. We're now 25 minutes into this race, and it's now round about now where you might see the drivers start to think about potentially making that first pit stop, that, well, hopefully the only pit stop this evening. This is the point where they think, okay, the tyres are beginning to go, and this is where the start of that greening phase begins. If they've worked those front tyres just a little bit too hard, scrubbing them sideways across the surface of the track, because the track is so warm, it's going to just move little bits of dust, little bits of rubber across the surface of the tyre, and that's going to limit the amount of grip the tyre gives as the McLaren bounces over the inside of that razor sharp curb. Can't do that too often as well, you will risk puncturing those tyres too, and that is a reason you might see more than one pit stop this evening. As we've got Paul Trotman's been off track, a lot of dust in the background there, that's going to bring in Williams. Williams going to, eyes wide open, moves down the inside. I think that move's going to be finished before the braking zone. Can Trotman do anything to counter back? He does show his nose, maybe in vain, as Trotman moves back to the racing line, back to the wall to try and open the corner up. Never quite makes the apex, maybe some dust still on his tyres from earlier on. The Welshman will have to fall in behind Williams, who may also be Welsh, I'm not too sure. We'll have that one confirmed later on. If we accuse someone of being Welsh and they're not, I'm sure they'll let me know. It's not over though, Trotman's keeping the pace. He's definitely going to come back with a counter attack. Trotman looks like he's pinned it far too hard on the exit of the second switchback. Bounces over the grass, and thankfully for him, manages to keep it out of the wall. Here comes Duda. He is currently about a second behind Burstein. Lovely car, that Inception McLaren. So the fight between Mateza and Harris has not ended, it's still going on. It's stagnated a little bit, the gaps remain very close, under a second as they cross the line. And we've got Yannick Pisaric in the pits. Now is that oh! Now if you look closely at the back end of that car, you can see Pisaric showing some updates to that McLaren. As you can see, it can now run with a heavily damaged back end. Oh, I don't think that's actually meant. A lot of damage on the back of that car. I think he may be done actually. He's not left the pit lane in a while, so that... Oh no, he's moving. This is his mandatory stop. He's repaired the damage. Whatever's happened, he's fixed that car, shared those updates, and went back to the original specification. But he's going to join the action a couple of laps down, unfortunately for him. So Greenwood's now all over the back of Soseda. It's a little bit deep there. Speaking of damage to cars, the front end of that Aston Martin looks like it's had a little kiss with the tyre wall somewhere. And the side and the back. It's not in the best of condition. I wonder if Lance Stroll is in the car. Oh sorry, Lance Stroll was in a different car, wasn't he, this evening? So only one driver completed their mandatory stop as of yet, as Greenwood gets very close to the back of that BMW, almost pushing him down the back straight. Moves to the inside. Can he go for the late braking opportunity? He tries. There's a space left by the BMW. Great racing. And these drivers will need to be careful as the leaders now make their way through this lap traffic. Gozinov's coming up to the back of them. Starkov has just got around the 92 car of Love. So just to clarify for anyone who may or may not be familiar with the FRL blue flag rules, when you're blue flagged, there's no obligation to immediately move out of the way unless the car behind is within half a second. If the car behind is within half a second on a straight, that car needs to be ahead by the next braking zone. However, you can only be blue flagged for one lap. After that one lap, you must also give way to the faster car lapping you. It looks like Starklov has gained a little bit there in that blue flag zone. So we'll see if the blue flags potentially factor into anyone's strategy this evening as well. You can of course pit to avoid having to lap them. You can't, it's very easy to lose a couple of seconds as the blue flag drivers just begin to sort of learn that they are actually about to be approached by the leader, and they think of the best way, the fastest way, or the way they can lose the least amount of time pitting. As Neteza is the first of the front runners to decide he is coming in for the pits. He's going to fall a little bit further back, and that's going to unleash Harris, or maybe put Harris under pressure, or maybe even Harris will think about coming into the pits himself on the next lap to make sure the car ahead, or rather Neteza doesn't have that undercut advantage. Or will he go for the overcut? Will he run later into the race, take tyres later on, and maybe have fresher rubber, allowing him to attack Neteza, and even Wood actually if he gets the opportunity to do so. This is Starklov and Guzhinov. Guzhinov just went round the outside of that green Aston, who I think has went into the pits actually. Yes, he has, so that's Greenwood, I think, jumped into the pit lane. Guzhinov's lost more time back getting round Sauceda, and that's brought Starklov but within 1.2. But now, see, this is, the leader seems to always get hurt a little bit more. Car 26, that's Dunn. Dunn has lost it. Going round the second to last corner, he's off circuit as Sauceda gets out of the way of Starklov. He's moving very slowly as Dunn. He's at the speed now, but Wood has now went past. Wood moves up into P4. Oh, it's all coming alive as the pit stops begin to start. The pit window has been open for a while, but the competitive pit stops will now begin to start as Neteza has rejoined the circuit. He's behind car number 32. That is Wood, so he's a lap down on Wood. Pit stop costing a lot of track position this evening. So Omarov shown ahead, but he's actually behind Duda. So what's happened there? Maybe Omarov's been off circuit at some point. Car number 1, that is Yannick Pisarik, going very slowly down the back straight as he lets, I think he's actually letting a lapped car go through, but that McLaren again, he's been in the wall somewhere, hasn't he? Front bumper looks very, very out of shape. So if you're just watching us just now, it was Dunn had the pole position. We've got a stop-go penalty for Lee Cablow. No! He'll be extremely disappointed with that one. As that Aston Martin of Neteza came into that final corner very quickly, as debris is all over the place now coming through there. Glenn has jumped into the pits as well. So up front, Guzhinov and Starklov lead. Wood's going to inherit third place, at least temporarily. Glenn in the pits in the Mustang, still yet to drive into his pit box, so he will be there for a while. He's missed his pit box, no! So he'll cost him more time. Williams coming into the pit box now as well. Trotman stays on track. So Trotman's going to move up a place. And this is where it does get a little bit tricky for us commentating to work out who is where. This is now coming up to the exact midpoint in the race. 35 minutes almost gone. So this is the ideal time to stop if you are going to take tyres or only taking fuel. This is where the pinpoint, this is the time where strategy is out the window. This is just the fastest way to make it through the race in terms of lap time. However, you've got to account for other cars. And the Taser's off circuit, and Harris goes past. Harris, after rejoining, Harris puts a lap on the Taser, and he's yet to pit, so that might see Harris come out ahead of the Taser once he makes that pit stop. Harris likes that bumpy curb on the exit of turn 10. So up front, Guzyanov leads Starkov by 1.3. Wood is going to come across the line a little bit further behind, nearly 20 seconds behind. I think that'll be 15 to 20 seconds. Yep, 21.1 behind. Dunn now comes into the pit lane. He'll be looking to get rid of those tyres. They've been sliding all over the track this evening. Where does he come out? That is the question. Trotman is still out there, so the order is going to be a bit jumbled up. Right now, Glenn is first. Glenn's first off the drivers who have made a pit stop, and he is a lap down now on the leaders. As we see Starklov just ahead. So this is Starklov we're on board with. We see the leader just ahead. We've got Cablo in front, who does have a drive-through penalty. And he gets out of the way. Very confusing for the leaders coming through, and that's what I mean where it tends to cost leaders a bit more. As Guzyanov comes into the pit, Starklov remains out, so Starklov's going to inherit the lead as Guzyanov comes into pit, and Cablo also comes in to serve that drive-through penalty. So this is now the key point of the race. Can Starkov keep that pace up? Well, has Guzyanov went too early? And will that open the door for Starkov later on in the race towards the checkered flag? As Wood now goes through, inherits P2. Still got some cars to lap. Harris is now coming into the pit, so Harris will make his pit stop. And the big question is, or was, where would the Taser be? Mendez still lapping out there. We've seen him in the wars earlier on this evening. Lots of cars actually out there just now in the pit lane. You see that here comes Trotman rejoining, and the Taser's just squeezed out in front of Trotman, but I think that means that Harris has indeed going to jump. Oh, car flicking in the pit lane there. Who is that? Somebody's got a really bad connection, that means. Cablo now finally rejoining one of the one of the worst pit lanes on the calendar to receive a drive-through penalty, and it's so long. And Starkov stays out again. 22 laps gone. This is the 23rd lap. He'll go to start his 24th as he crosses the line. It's good to be on the lead lap, but now he's going to be the first car to meet all of the blue flagged traffic, and that might begin to slow him down. Will that influence when he chooses to make his next pit stop? All these questions will be answered very shortly. As we approach the final 30 minutes of the race, it looks like we're not going to see any rain here in a very humid day here in Indiana. We're currently watching Williams in P9 as Wood now enters the pit lane. Guzyanov will come back into P2 as Wood serves that pit stop. And I wonder, any of the drivers have indeed elected not to bother with new tyres. It will be an absolute achievement if you can manage the 70 minutes. As Guzyanov has got the bad connection, hopefully that stabilises for him. But Guzinov's about to fly past Wood. You'll see Wood behind the driver names on the left hand side, behind the Fanatec flags. No, we won't, because he's already passed, unfortunately. But Wood is now down into P3, but Wood is moving again. Car behind is Glenn, so this is Glenn here. Wood still crawling down the pit lane at 13 miles per hour, obeying the speed limit. As Starkov goes another lap. But who's going to come out here in net P3? Is it Wood or is it Glenn? They're side by side, we're on board with Glenn, and I think he's got Wood by about 10 seconds actually. Not as close as we first thought, unfortunately, for Greg Wood. Wood, however, has rejoined ahead of Matty Dunn in the Aston Martin and behind Yannick Gerling in the Ferrari. So a good little battle here then for the final 30 minutes of round 3. Formula Racing League's Taco Tuesday season 18. Incredible to think it's been going on for this long. So that's Trotman, I think, just going round the lap Porsche of Gavin Love. Harris down in P11, so it's not went well during the pit stop phase for the Sky McLaren, down in P11, unless he's been off somewhere maybe. So as Wood gets his tyres up to speed, he's now got pressure behind. It does look like the Aston Martin is faster, at least at this stage of the race. You've seen Dunn's raw pace as he cuts the inside off that curb. Again, they're razor sharp. You need to be very careful cutting over those curbs, as they can shred the tyres, create a slow puncher, gradually bringing the pressure in the tyre down, which will obviously decrease grip and eventually lead to you having to make a pit stop to repair that. So he's definitely pushing the car a little bit more at this stage. Wood's going to have fresher tyres, of course, so as the race progresses, it is going to benefit Wood to have that later pit stop. But can you keep ahead in this early phase? That's going to be the key thing for him. But you can see just how much Dunn is hounding that Lamborghini in front of him. And we've got a car off track. That's Cablo, who is facing the wrong way. Car ahead sweeping across the track, maybe contact between the two. As Dunn throws it down the outside, tries to move round there. It is possible, but not on this occasion, as both cars have similar grip levels at this time. You need to have a big pace differential to make that one work round the outside. Guzhinov goes round the lapped car there off Didsbury. We've got a BMW flying down the inside. That's car 44. That is Boosty, I believe. Probably mistaken with that one, to be honest. That is actually Soseda in the 44 BMW, so excuse me while I interrupt myself. But Dunn is now all over the back of Wood, again coming down the start finish straight. Wood feels the need to go defensive. The Lamborghini we know is not the best top end speed. He comes back to the racing line. That's his two moves complete. Early turn in for Wood, defends the position as Dunn smashes into that huge curb on the inside of turn 1. That won't have done him any favours, and you can see he is pushing that car to the limits. It's very frustrating to know that you have the speed advantage, but it's not enough to make that overtake, especially with the Lamborghini being so good under brakes and on turning. And the Aston Martin very close, coming round the switchbacks there, and he gets the back end, the tail squirreling around, looks very like a happy dog, a Rottweiler just trying to get his claws down on the laminate floor. It's not enough grip, unfortunately, and again the Aston Martin hits that inside curb. He needs to carry more speed into the corner. That's what that means. As Wood, however, gets a little bit out of shape through the quick switch back, and that's left him compromised coming round the sweeping right-hander, and Dunn goes round to the racing line. Can Wood do anything about it? He tries to go late. The Lamborghini will stop. He goes too deep, and there's contact between the two. The Lambo's spun. He's facing the wrong way. Luckily, nobody coming round the track at that time, but Wood tries to throw it down the inside as a counter move. All goes a bit pear-shaped for him, and he results in him down in P6 now, 5 or 6 seconds off the back of Dunn, as Guzhinov has inherited the lead and made a big 8-second gap over Starklov now. And the question is, has Starklov went far enough into the race to give him a pace advantage as the tyres begin to go off for Guzhinov later on in the race? So it's cost him about 6 seconds running a little bit later. Or has Guzhinov not taken tyres, and that's the reason for the increase in the gap? If Guzhinov has not chosen to take fresh tyres, that will mean he will be very slow towards the end of the race. So we'll keep an eye on how that one pans out over the next few laps. But we've caught up with this battle. This is Adrianov battling Williams for P7. The Williams has went deep in the first of the two switchbacks, and that's going to compromise him on the exit of the second one onto the back straight. And the Bentley, we've seen the Bentley straight line speed, we know what it does in a straight line. The helicopter picks these two up. The Aston Martin, of course, no slouch. Great defending by Williams, squeezes the Bentley to the inside. Gap is there, but it quickly closes through the fast switchback, and nothing doing on this time. Adrianov not giving up. The Taser, of course, only 3 seconds behind this lot. But what's happened? So Guzhinov leads, Starklov second, Glynn in P3, but Williams has run wide into the third last corner. They're side by side through the penultimate turn, space given on the inside by Adrianov. Good driving from the Bentley driver as he puts his right foot down and unleashes the Bentley grunt onto the most famous yard of brick in the world, marking the start-finish straight. As just in the background there, that is Neteza overlapping the damaged Yannick Pisarek in the number 1 McLaren. So Starklov's closed the gap to Guzhinov down to 7.4, but Guzhinov has just went through some lap traffic, so that might have cost him some time. Car 84, that's Lee Cablow. No, I'm honestly disappointed for him. It was going so well. He's now returned to the pit lane, and I think that might be his race over for this evening. There'll be a few choice Geordie swear words in that car. Just that the Bentley, a force of habit. The Bentley is such a nice car to drive when you get it right, but it's so twitchy. The back end, very oversteery. But here comes Buerstein. Now he's all over the back of the Grello Porsche. Omarov looking like he's sporting a little bit of damage on the front of that car. GT Jamie in chat. I'm not going to do the accent, no chance, but he says "Ho way man" for sure. And underneath that virtual helmet of Cablo, I am not doing the accent. I am not doing it. Absolutely no chance. Maybe Cablo can give us a voice clip somewhere in the Discord to let us know exactly how that sounds. And if you could say roller coaster and supercomputer as well, I would love that. So 29 laps. GT Jamie is in the chat, which means he's had a bad evening in the Pro Tier. Please let us know how the Pro Tiers got on this evening, Jamie. Obviously not the best of evenings for yourself. Williams now under pressure from the Taser. He's just been eaten up is the green Aston Martin, the green and ginger Aston Martin. Pooper Scooper is good in the jaw of the accent, yeah. Be great to hear him say Pooper Scooper. Please don't laugh. That's all you're getting out of me. But thank you for the engagement in chat there. Jamie, keep it up. Great to see our FRL OGs even watching the stream still. GT Jamie made a boo-boo in the pits, curled Volksman on entry and got a stop-go 30 seconds. Traditions. Crack open the cold one. Cheers to you. Thank you for the ticket in the steward's room. We absolutely do not appreciate that. Thank you. So here comes the Taser around the final corner now. Aston versus Aston. There's no pace advantage here. It's not enough. I think that camera view really does shrink the gap, the actual gap between the two cars. But it's only 0.3 of a second as they cross the line. Mendes is closed up to the back of Duda. A little bit of a good battle forming there. The battle for P14. They've got Omarov, Burstein, Duda and Mendes coming across the line. As they're side by side, a little bit of contact as they come into the switchbacks. The Taser makes the move on Williams. He runs a little bit wide. Can Williams keep it under control? The Taser almost got the four-wheel drift opposite lock round there. Looks very cool for us. Probably wasn't as cool for him, for sure. Gap at the front now under 6 seconds. Starklov slowly towing his way through the field, but Starklov now just about to approach some blue flags in a very nasty part of the track. That's going to cost him time as Guzyanov has just cleared this little pack. And this is that battle we were talking about earlier on. This is Mendes, Duda and Burstein just a little bit ahead with the Grello Porsche in front as Starklov gets through Mendes. Relatively easy anyway, but Duda is not in a good part of the track for him. Matty Dunn's taking the fastest lap off the race. Remember, the fastest lap off the race is worth a point. The point system in this championship is 40 points for the win, 39 for second, 38 for second, and so on. So that extra point is effectively like making an extra position up. It is important. As a move from Starklov there gets that completed, as Williams has got himself back ahead of the Taser. And just ahead, Adrianov's on the back off. That is a lapped car potentially. Who is that? That is Greenwood. So blue flags will be shown for Greenwood, and this is what we're talking about with the rules here. But he's within half a second, so that position will have to be given up by the end of the straight. It looks like Greenwood's staying way left. Blue flags out there, you can see clear as day. He's not done it. He takes to the inside. What's he doing? No! Nearly a catastrophic situation for Adrianov as Greenwood slightly misjudging the blue flag situation. As Burstein all over the back of Omarov. Only 4/10 separate these two as they come onto the back straight now. And the Grello Porsche looks like an absolute handful. Burstein is not letting go. He's taking a wider entrance into that corner. That's going to give him a better exit for one of the best overtaking opportunities on the circuit. But it's not enough. Not on this occasion, but Starklov now coming through to get ahead of these two. The gap 5.7 between Guzyanov and Starklov as they make their way through that lapped traffic. Only one car currently sitting in the pits. That is Lee Cablo in the 84 Bentley. I think he is done for this evening. Not coming back out now as Didsbury moves ahead. Another close battle we've got. Here is Williams and the Taser, and they're approaching the back of the Aston. It's a very wide line by Williams and Neteza nearly collects him. We've got 3 Astons now onto the back straight. Williams goes left. Neteza tries to get the slipstream from the lapped car ahead, but it's went against him as Williams gets through the lapped car, and Neteza's apex is compromised on that occasion, and that means at least for another couple of corners Williams is going to stick himself ahead off Neteza. Burestein still 0.6 behind Omarov. Incredible close action we have here with 15 minutes remaining. The track a little bit cooler than it was when we started, but he's ran wide, has Williams. 2 Astons side by side round the penultimate corner, dicing on the edge of disaster, and through the last corner it is. Williams gets out of shape, the back end squirming under pressure from the throttle pedal, and it's Neteza who comes ahead in that position and retains that position, but it's not over. Williams launches the counter-attack down the inside, the slipstream, the increased speed. Can he get it slowed down? He runs a little bit deep. That's going to give Neteza the advantage going through turn 2, but it's not enough. Neteza doesn't throw it down the inside, at least not on this occasion. Amazing stuff. 3 Aston Martins in shot. Such amazing racing. As we look backwards, and again that wide line opens the door for Neteza. They're side by side as Williams cannot close the door to maximise his exit onto the back straight, and that's going to now bring Neteza back into the action. We look backwards from the rear wing of Williams as he goes late on the brakes. Williams leaves space. The curb used by Neteza, inside line. They're side by side. Which way is this going to go? Because Williams has the inside line, space has been left. The blue flag car thinks about getting involved, doesn't, but Neteza's had a bit of oversteer. This has been non-stop now for 3 laps. The gap closing into the third final corner. Early on the brakes from Williams, but it's not early on the brakes from Neteza, who's run a little bit wide. He's not lost too much time, thankfully for him, as they look to be now line astern and just behind. We've got Trotman making a move, it looks like, but Williams has potentially now conceded that battle. And again, I can now breathe. Holy moly. So Starklov 5.6 behind Guzyanov. That gap now seems to have stopped at that time. So now maybe that fresh sheen off Starklov's tyres has dropped. Mendes side by side with Duda. We've seen this one potentially building. Mendes down the inside on the brakes. Can he get it stopped? Yes, he can. It's a good move by the Aston Martin driver. As we come now into the final 13 minutes of this race. Race is 70 minutes here on Taco Tuesday, a little bit longer than they're used to. Of course, if any of the drivers do have any feedback to give us, done down the inside of Gerling. He's up into P4 now, done the fastest lap so far anyway of the race. Currently sitting in P4, and if it finishes like this, he'll get points as if he finished on the podium anyway as a result of that fastest lap. But we've got Burstein's finally got past Omarov as well in that battle with Williams. We've missed Omarov losing out, unfortunately for him, in the Grello Porsche to Burstein. As Lee Cablo finally exits the server from the pit lane. So while we're going to the final 10 minutes, we'll have a quick rundown of the positions as the leader crosses the line. Actually, we'll wait about 20 seconds so we can get updated timings throughout the field. That looked like Mendes and Duda about to go to war once again. Down the start-finish straight, Duda's got the slipstream. The Aston Martin has the power. Duda moves to the inside, shows his nose thinks about a move, but Mendes unfazed by the dancing McLaren in his mirror. So Guzhinov leads by 6.5 from Starklov. Glynn 25 seconds behind in the Mustang, who is being chased down now by Dunn, who has the fastest lap of the race. As you see him throwing that car over the curbs, his tyres will be in some condition at the end of this race, I'm sure. But we're going to jump on board with this battle because we have Paul Trotman Paul Trotman holding off Harris by 0.3 of a second as they come across the last timing point. And this is Harris now trying to make amends for earlier on. As we look backwards from Trotman's rear wing, and we see Williams. That Williams in the background there. Williams has been taken by these two, it looks like. Is that Williams made a mistake, or is that Greenwood? I think it's Greenwood. But as we can see there, Harris not able to make any inroads as the sparks fly. He does make it down the brakes. He's so late and he's made contact. He's spun Trotman. Trotman now facing the wrong way at turn 1, managed to find reverse gear. And it is Harris who he is waiting, to be fair, a gentleman at heart, as he needs to be careful. Both of these drivers need to be careful as Starklov comes round to lap them. The Starklov nearly gets his pride caught up in their shame. But all coming to a head between Harris and Trotman round turn 1. The thing is now, that will be Trotman's tyres absolutely shot after that spin. We've seen Harris hard on the brakes there. I don't think there was much more he could have done. Just unfortunately needed to brake about half a metre earlier. It would have prevented that. This is racing though, it happens. It's a motor race. We went racing. Good, that'll beat someone. Somebody will say something about that. Right. 9 minutes left. What is the gap? At the front is 5.9. So this is the point where Starklov will begin to make some inroads. And this is where Omarov makes inroads on Burstein. I think Burstein's made a mistake somewhere as well. The front end of that car doesn't look new. It looks a little bit second-hand dealership at the wrong side of town. And the timing board also saying that Williams is catching the Taser. The Taser we catch making a mistake coming out of turn 4. And that's allowed Williams to close up again. So this one's not over either. Two Astons rounding the switchbacks there. We've seen dust kicked up in the background. And that's the leader. That's Starklov catching Greenwood. Sorry, Guzhinov catching Greenwood as Greenwood moves out of the way. Does he lift off though? That is the question. That's fine, don't cut back across. You've got to make the overtake as well, as Guzhinov does do very fairly. Gap now 4.2, so I think that was indeed Guzhinov off track. So here we come up to a lovely battle again. We have got the Taser holding off Williams by a couple of tenths, and just behind that we've got Trotman. Car off track there just ahead. That's car 92. That is G Love facing the wrong way in his Porsche as the race battles on. The concentration drops. It is a long time to keep your head completely focused and concentrated as Harris moves alongside now. Trotman out of the second last corner, sweeps around the final turn, and finally completes the move he's been looking to do to get himself back into the top 10. You'll be thrilled they caught that on camera. So he will. Again, Sky McLaren running P6 earlier on, now running P10. The curse continues. Gap at the front now 3.7, 6 minutes remaining. Everyone has completed their mandatory pit stop. Nobody left to jump into the pits. We've got a pack now developing here between Harris, Trotman, Burstein, Omarov, all lapping very close together. I think we've got a lapped car in amongst that as well. This is it here, yes. So we've got the purple McLaren there, I think it's about to be lapped. Just behind that, Trotman, then Burstein. Omarov has now dropped off the back of this pack. Unfortunately for him, Duda as well running P15, 1.4 behind Mendes. He's not let Mendes escape, but Mendes does look to be a little bit more comfortable now. So the gap between Williams and Neteza looks like he's struggling as he nearly skiffs the wall on the outside. Gap 3.7 between first and second. It's not over. We've got one more lapped car for them. They might catch. That is the 44 car off Soseda. As Soseda now lets the leader go through on turn 1. So it's now up to Starklov to get round. Williams' back end doesn't look as glued to the track as I'm sure he would like. But both of these Aston Martins are not giving up. 5 minutes remain. Here, round 3, Taco Tuesday, the Pro-Am tier, and it has to be said they've given us some fantastic driving this evening. One of the better 70-minute races we've watched. Has been action throughout. And we've still got this little fight here. Williams and Neteza, both Aston Martins, no car advantage. And of course, the battle for the lead as Starklov has now made his way through. 4 minutes remain, and the next cars for the leaders to catch are these two. However, Neteza's run wide on the third to last corner. That opens the door into the penultimate one as that bit of polystyrene is sent absolutely flying through the upright goals. Conversion is good by Neteza, but he has lost a position unfortunately, and there's no points in FRL for the completed conversion kick. But these two are the next two. Neteza looks like he's went very deep there on the brakes. 2.6 the gap, 3 minutes to go. Indeed getting very interesting at the front. So this is the view from inside the cockpit of Starklov. Ferraris 1 and 2, Ford Mustang in 3rd. And people saying that the Mustang and the Ferrari are not overpowered. Here's your proof. 3 minutes remain. I don't think Starklov's going to have a chance to catch, but you never know. Anything can happen in motor racing, and it usually does. You see, that gap does look a lot closer actually, doesn't it? It's visibly, to the naked eye, a lot closer. We've got about 2 minutes remain. I think we're going to have 2 more laps around this circuit. As Glynn gets around Duda, and that is Mendes just ahead. I was thinking it was Dunn ahead of us, but it's not. They're very similar liveries. Dunn and Mendes have. "20 cars remaining in this race." It's a good rate of attrition for the drivers this evening. Only one driver who frankly had a little bit of a bad evening this evening, Lee Cablo. A couple of spins and a drive-through penalty for his sins. Has elected not to continue. Understandable given the circumstances. Everyone else will receive points this evening as they've completed 75% of the laps required. As Omarov, this is Burstein and Omarov, I think. Nope, it's Omarov lapping Socieda. Socieda are doing very well to get out of the way. Absolute credit to him. So 1 minute and 10 seconds left in the race. The battle for the lead, 2.5 seconds. Guzhinov pitted earlier. The tyres now under significant strain, at least comparatively to the Limoncello Ferrari of Starklov. And the 1-2-3 car, who will be on slightly fresher tyres, giving him a bit more pace. And it is evident he's closed the gap down from 8 seconds down to 2.5 over the last stint. 2.5 was the gap as the first round of pit stops happened. But the thing is, the two leaders are now lapping two cars who are in fierce battle. That is the Aston Martins of Williams and the Taser. The gap now 1.8 as we enter the final lap here at Indy.
Right, man. Leader is on the final lap. Give it all you can.
The track temperature and air temperature has cooled down, but things have still het up here. Trotman is only 0.5 gap separating him and Boerstein. Boerstein's going to make a move, it looks like, potentially. This is one of the best opportunities for him to do so. He pulls over to the inside. Trotman on the left. It's now a battle between the late breakers. Just behind we've got Omarov clearing a car. It is Trotman sweeping round the outside who keeps that position, at least for the time being. Up front, again, more dust being kicked up by Guzhinov as those tyres are beginning to scream no more, and they're now approaching the battling cars of Neteza and Williams. Incredible pace from both of these, of course, lapping everyone up to P10 so far. But it's going to be Guzhinov who approaches this first. He bounces over the grass, and again a compromised exit. But the Ferrari driver has led from about lap 2 all the way until this point, if you ignore the lap he was in the pit. As the Taser goes deep into the final corner, is this going to impact the battle for the lead? The Taser still kept the inside, and he's maybe held up Starklov a little bit. The gap's moved over now, but it's been a fantastic race for Rustam Guzhinov in the number 13. Lucky for some, unlucky for others. It's been good for him today. He crosses the line and takes the win. Starklov is going to take second place. Great driving from him. And Glenn now goes around the lapped car of Socieda. Anyone else battling? We still have Omarov, Boerstein. Omarov's got ahead of Boerstein. Boerstein's been off circuit, and he's going to take that position from the Taser across the head of Harris. What's happened to Harris? How's the Taser got hit? Harris was 10th anyway, that's fine. Trotman 11th, Omarov 12th, Boerstein 13th, Greenwood and Pisarek cross the line now as well. Glenn takes third place and rounds off the podium. Done in P4. Yannick Gerling going to come across the line now in P5. And just behind him in the correct car is Greg Wood on the lead lap. He's going to lead home. I think it's car 296. That is Grant Didsbury, who we've seen have that massive smash in the wall at the end of lap 1, doing his best Ralf Schumacher impression across the line as well. Now Adrianov, at least at Bentley, has crossed the line this evening. It always gives me a warm feeling in my heart. Such an iconic car. No bias in this commentary whatsoever. Definitely not my favourite car in the game. Adrianov, though, is going to cross the line now. And take P7. Great job from the Bentley driver. Yes, Gingers do indeed have hearts. It's souls that were lacking as Williams crosses the line, last to cross the line in the 7th. Sorry, P8, my apologies. And that is the end of the Pro-Am tier of Taco Tuesday. Tier 3, the first ever race that we've had live for the Tier 3 drivers, and what a show they have put on for us this evening. We'll run through the provisional results for you just now. We'll see if the replay is possible to be saved this evening. And we can maybe play a bit of the highlights. Nope, no cars showing on track it looks like. Oh, we do, yep. save those highlights and get those running in the background. I've lost all controls with my keyboard, please bear with me. So provisional order then, we have Guzhinov in P1 provisionally, Starklov second, 2.5 off the back. Glynn finishes in P3, Dunn fourth, Gerling fifth. Wood, who has just joined us, commentary royalty in the comms box this evening. Give me 2 seconds, just going to quickly run through the order. Adrianov P7, Williams in 8th, Nateza 9th, Harris down in 10th, Trotman 11th, Omarov 12th, Burstein in 13th, Mendez in 14th, Duda 15th, Greenwood 16th, Pisarek 17th, Love 18th, Soseda in 19th, Didsbury in 20th, and Cablo unfortunately failed to finish. So, Mr. Wood, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box this evening. Turnabout is indeed fair play. How did that go for yourself this evening?
I mean, I think I was saved ultimately by my qualifying position. Overtaking was not easy, especially with a Lambo, which I thought my main strengths were in the tight corners, so I did whack on a fair bit of wing. I did get picked off in the early stages after making good places at the start. I then unfortunately obviously gave those places back, and then when I held out for quite a while thinking I could have good tyres at the end. Stayed out a bit too long, losing time. I had about 5 or 6 laps where I was losing about a second a lap at the time, after I'd passed Gerling. And then when I came back out, I came out just behind Gerling on the pit exit, and then I had Dunn behind me as well, who was much faster than the pair of us. And I probably didn't prioritise correctly chasing Gerling over Dunn. I should have let Dunn go and chase Gerling's. I did think at stages I did have the pace on Gerling to maybe get that move done again. But first and foremost, though, I do need to offer Dunn an apology. There was an incident in the final sector. He got past me. I found myself on the inside with a bit of space to aim at. I overdid it and caused a collision. I think I came off worse from it, but all the same, it's not nice being driven into. So I think most of that before that, I think it was fair game, holding him up. Obviously, I think ultimately our battle probably cost him a podium. I don't think the collision did, but like I said, probably not nice being driven into. But I'll take P6. I've had some torrid first couple of races, so I will very much take P6 on the road. How did it look from your end? Did you catch me at all?
Yep, you'll be pleased to know that incident you just described was caught live. You'll get to review that in real time later on, I'm absolutely sure. I think we're actually watching you and Dunn on the stream just now, the highlights going into turn 1. Lap 3, I think this is. So we're watching that just now. I think he goes down the inside and makes the move stick. He was very fast this evening, wasn't he? I know you kept the position, that was good actually. Little switchback, nicely done. Pun intended.
I like this one. I would definitely gave myself a high five when I pulled that one off. He's a very quick driver, and I thought it was really, really tricky to keep him behind.
Yeah, keep your hands on the wheel, don't do high fives. And I think we've also been joined by royalty, commentary royalty, FRL commentary royalty in the comms box with Mr. Harris, who we're also watching on stream just now, have a wheel-to-wheel battle, very apt given the situation with yourself. We
were in party chat when that happened and almost came to fisticuffs.
Yeah, it doesn't help when a commentator doesn't know how to unmute his headset. I mean, it definitely does throw unsensory words into a party chat that cannot be repeated due to PG stream reasons.
So this is
all in all, I think good race. I mean, fantastic battle between me and Trotman. Obviously, I think we just got a bit too eager, being stuck behind a few lapping cars. It's unfortunately Indianapolis. It's the best we can do. I mean, also big shout out to Anesta as well. Good battle with him in the first stint. And also Cablo, I think probably really early in the start, I think just run a little bit wide and I saw an opening. I think I did tap him slightly, but I think we had another little tap afterwards, so I think I did right him the correct way. But again, as Greg did say earlier, it's not nice having someone drive into you, so I do apologise for that, Cablo.
Yeah, I think Cablo had a little bit of a torrid time this evening, just compounded with a drive-through penalty when he went for his pit stop as well. I'm sure he will bounce back, but it was great to see you at the start, sort of having that sort of dicing battle. But I'm interested to know, you mentioned there, you guys normally mute your headset when racing?
No, so I nipped to the bathroom just before, left it on mute by accident. We typically don't. So basically, we were going through that sequence that you just witnessed. Retro Owens giving it the blinders at me. What were you doing? Where are you going? You can't do that. And all he gets is nothing from me.
Which I think is more probably infuriating and having an answer back than nothing at all.
Yeah, and then
So
looks
it's
like gulped on your end,
red
yeah.
flag to a ball.
Yeah, and then looks a bit spicy on your end. But he's almost admitting gulp by being quiet. Yeah, I was about to say, if you're racing in silence, then that's amazing, because I do not get that luxury on a Sunday. But it looked good out there. It looked very spicy all through the field. There was always, I don't know how you guys felt it on your end, but it felt like something was always happening. There was always a battle for us to follow, people wheel to wheel. How were the tyres this evening? Because it was very hot out there.
Strangely, for me, the first stint, until I went over halfway, they just felt they were getting better and better. But after that halfway point in the race, about 35 minutes in, they just fell off a cliff. Like I said before, I was losing about a second a lap, and I think ultimately that's how Girling managed to complete the undercut on me. Speak the devil, I think he just picked up me on the replay, about to try something or other. Or I think it's clipping. Oh no, yep, that's Girling going off track. Gave me it in the end.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake by Girling going to that third to last corner. It does seem to be an error generator, that corner. Do you have many errors going over there or hitting the curbs at all? The big bouncy curbs that we have here?
Quite a few going into that corner, but I think Greg noticed it in the free practice that someone had managed to hit the brake marker board that was attached to the fencing above.
What? That's impressive. Screenshots,
yeah, we're not
please.
quite sure how, but it really messed us up going into the braking.
Yeah.
There's also the corner after the second to last corner. There is some very, very strict, absurdly strict track limits.
Yes, there is indeed.
I could not believe it, and if I got a fourth, I was ready to petition the living life out of it to you guys in the shooting office. You were going to get stream footage, you were going to get multiple different angles of every single time I gained one, and I was going to petition it to the high heavens. I was not a happy bunny, but thankfully I came home on my last warning, so you'll be glad in the shooting office to have avoided that one from me.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, actually. On Sunday we had an issue with Harvey, who on his outlap did that on that final corner, and he didn't get the warning until after he crossed the start finish line that his next lap would be invalidated. Hence why he done 2 laps, in case you were wondering. But that was deemed that he was not at fault, but will be going forward, because we're now taking the stance that the game polices its own track limits, so you would have got nowhere with your protest, unfortunately. But it was good to see.
Over the line, he's over the line, which is correct.
Yeah, the issues with the programming, it should be telling you before you start your lap that there's an issue. It didn't. But it is what it is. We move on. It was good racing with you guys tonight. It was good to have you on the other end of the commentary as well. First ever time we've had Tier 3 live streamed for Taco Tuesday as well. So hopefully it's went down well. If the numbers are good for views, we'll have you back again for I think round 5 at Monza, which I am sure will be
Tier 3 for Monza.
Yes. Monza is the Lamborghini's favourite, which is surprising because Lamborghini doesn't necessarily like top speed, but most of those high speed sections come from high traction zones, and that is where the Lamborghini is king.
Yes, the speed you can carry out of the Parabolica makes up almost for the loss of speed at the end of the straight as well.
One and only ever tiered win in any racing game ever.
We look forward to seeing what you can do.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to watching this back to watch my lap 1, where I managed to actually gain, I think, 3 positions.
But can I just make a point? Should we send Brown the footage from last time you raced at Monza and the carnage you caused?
That wasn't the last time.
For FRL it was.
Pop it in the clips and put it in the clip from Discord and we'll have a look.
It's not mine that's been clipped. I'd have to go look for it. Somebody else.
Oh, I've got it saved.
I did a little pirouette down the pit straight on lap 1 in the rain.
Oh, lovely. My first race in FRL.
That was the same race that you won, though.
Yeah, because I actually collected it with no damage. But absolute carnage ensued behind me.
Good, we'll get to see that again then. We'll hopefully get to see you do that twice. Hopefully it'll be dry for you as well. In Monza in July, we expect it to be dry, very hot. But it's a low tyre wear circuit, so we might see some strategy change as well. Some people might not take the tyres. I assume everyone took tyres today.
Oh, absolutely.
I did, yeah.
Because it was interesting between the McLaren and the Lamborghini, where I was struggling with temperatures in the rear right tyre, and Greg was struggling with temps in the rear left tyre. So it was quite interesting to see what car was struggling with certain tyres. I think during my battle with Nesta, I was seeing him hit quite a lot of curbs, so I'm assuming that's why he had to pit maybe a little bit sooner than he wanted to. He maybe picked up a puncher, just trying to float the Aston Martin over a curb too many.
Another shout out to Dunn. It was quite strange. I'm not quite sure what he did yet, but there was a time before the end of my first stint, he was parked on the outside of exit of the penultimate turn. But yet, despite me passing him there, getting a clear lead over him, he still then somehow came back and passed me. So he had some immense speed tonight. I'm waiting to look back at the replay to find out exactly why he was parked at the exit of that turn on the line. And I'm sure I wonder when I message him to apologise in person. I'd like to think he'll tell me why. But I'm intrigued to find out why that was. And obviously he came back from a hell of a way, if that's what he was doing.
Yeah, that's not one we caught actually on camera. He did seem to fall off suddenly, very quickly, and that'll probably explain why. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. In terms of your championship just now, I know it's only 3 races in. Where were you two in relation to each other?
I was nowhere. I disconnected personally in the first race, and my Laguna Seca is not to be spoken of.
Yeah,
yes, that good.
Laguna Seca's still sore from Mr. Gedlin's defensive elbows.
That good then. Okay.
Yeah. It was a really enjoyable battle considering there was 2 tiers and really good driving from him as well. But I think championship wise, I think Snetterton, I think I did okay at. I think I did P5, P6 maybe. I think Laguna Seca, I think I cost myself just getting too roped up in blue flags and silly driver error. I think I'd probably got in the top 10 maybe for Laguna Seca. I'm not quite 100% sure. So round 3, hopefully something promising.
My Laguna Seca, I started second in class. May was going into the pits, I think 4th in class, and then 2 incidents ensued. I went back out, ended up 5 laps down, and then finished the race 7 laps down, having to let so many cars through. Far from ideal. I finished the race second to last.
Yeah, I mean it's not the best track in the world for overtaking. And then they obviously had the 2 classes last week on track at the same time. But I mean that compounded that sort of result of that basically. But if that was to be the situation again and the tiers were merged for any subsequent tracks, is that something you guys would be in favour of, or would you be against? Let's put you on the spot. Let's get an answer from you two.
Do you want to go first, Owen? I'm happy to go first.
I'm happy to go first, but I mean, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. But some of the blue flag standards tonight weren't great, I'll be perfectly honest.
Okay.
Because I think that's why me and Trotman towards the end were kind of yo-yoing between each other. There was a couple of drivers, it wasn't just one driver, a couple of drivers that were fighting the cars in front, or the traffic coming through into the corners, not letting pass down the straights, which again either blocked traffic, helped traffic, which is I think why I kind of caught back up to Trotman after having a few silly mistakes like testing the tyre wall on the exit of turn 1, not doing my pit properly. So again, it's all little things that do kind of factor in. So I think having the pro drivers and the AM class, I mean, Laguna Seca, I was probably caught out a little bit in kind of like a deer in headlights. I saw all these pro drivers coming, let one pass, let two pass, right. I thought I was clear, but I didn't see the third one coming. So obviously I was then essentially parked on the apex of a corner that the driver behind really needs the apex for. So again, I'm all up for pro driver and AM driver, but they just, I think, have to just take a second to go, oh, they're in AM class. No disrespect to the AM class, obviously some of the pro drivers are absolute aliens, like they are fantastic, they know their stuff, but obviously we all have to start sim racing one day, so just give a little bit of respect, and hopefully obviously it should all be good.
Yeah, it can all, I mean, obviously it's such a big, I don't want to be disrespectful, such a big gap between there is genuinely between the pro and tier 3. It is a big gap, and that is mainly found in braking distances from my experience, and that is where the accidents also happen. Like you said, you're caught on an apex, somebody's came in there steaming at full speed. It can be treacherous, like you said. Absolutely, there we go. It is something I don't know if it's going to be visited again in the future, if I'm being completely honest, but there's inter-tier battles on Sundays, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and I think that's where it should stay.
Yes,
Sundays I've got no problem with, because it's a sprint.
It's designed like that though. It's designed by design, inter-tier battles.
Yeah,
it's part
it
of the
also
fun.
is a shorter format, and there's less blue flags that can potentially happen as well.
Also true.
Then obviously having the reverse grid does obviously spice it up, which is obviously fantastic for us to watch, but obviously not racing Sunday, obviously we can't comment on that because obviously we don't do it. But what's your take on it, Greg?
So obviously you've got to sit in the individual shoes of what each section of that race experiences. Your pro drivers, what are they experiencing from start to finish? Are they getting the best blue flag experience for them? Is the people at the back experiencing the pro drivers coming past them in a respectful way? It's not that I don't think it could work, those two tiers put together, or even the tier 2 put with tier 3, or tier 1 put with tier 2, etc. It comes with familiarity, it comes with practice, and in the sim racing world, obviously you've got to retain the same set of drivers for a long time and have them learn the ropes and learn all the whole community on the field, what they do, who to trust, who they can't trust. So it's just a matter of putting all the same people on the same tracks as many times as you can to iron out these problems, because you can't steward it into existence. You can't design racing to bring it into existence. You simply have to let it mould into its own existence, it being good. So I think for off-season event, large off-season events, let's have it. Let's make these scenarios available. Let's get as many drivers on track, having a positive experience doing this, where pressure's off maybe, or stakes are not as high.
Yeah.
And then once we have, as a community in FRL, notice that, you know what, this is working in off-season events, then we can probably look at integrating it into your actual the more bread and butter leagues that we have on Tuesdays, Sundays, Thursdays. That's one man's opinion. But yeah, I think the big grid. I've always thought big grids is the best. I think for anybody who needs to experience sim racing at its very best, which is
Nice. Nice.
as FRL's slogan, you need big grids. That is GT3 endurance racing. They have big grids, and I don't think you can really say that you are a endurance veteran until you've driven amongst a big grid, because you have to drive so differently. I mean, this was a pretty decent sized grid, but I found myself for the second half of the race driving basically in no man's land. I had 15 seconds ahead and he had 30 seconds behind me, and I experienced a few back markers, and that was my second half of the race. But when you've got these big grids, there is something happening all the time, and you need to have the mental capacity, the mental endurance, and the skills to tackle every single individual challenge that a large grid poses. So I think I'd recommend anybody who's listening, anybody who's watching, anybody who's involved in FRL, do consider signing up to your off-season events, build those grids up, and let's give people the top tier experience that FRL can provide.
Yep, you let us obviously know in the Discord what suggestions you have. We're in deep talks now about what we're doing in the off season. So give us the suggestions that you want. One of the things we do want to test is almost a server to destruction, and by that I mean as many cars as we can possibly get on the grid. And there's talk of even making that a multi-class race, which, like you said, blue flags would teach a lot of people, give them experience in that situation as well.
Yeah. Because blue flags is not the end of the world.
Exactly, and it's a bit of fun because you're driving cars you're not used to driving. But we're also going to, I think, run a much more competitive, traditional off-season event on a Tuesday night as well. At least for 2 of the nights. We've got, I think it's 5 or 6 weeks, I think, in the off-season. We've got one endurance race at Bathurst, I think, coming up in the off-season, and then obviously we need to fill the rest of the 5-6 weeks with some action for you guys to take part in. And obviously in the Patreon, if you are a Patreon supporter, you will receive notification of that first and get to sign up first as well. So keep an eye out, get your suggestions on the Discord, both of you, wherever you want to put it. Just let somebody have eyes on it.
Yeah, I've got a few apology messages to send first, but then I'll get.
We'll let you take care of them then. That's fine. We'll let you guys head off just now, and I'll round up here. But thank you very much for joining me on stream. It's been good to have your insights as well. And turnabout, as I said, turnabout is fair play. And it's been a bit weird in the opposite position for once. Just to clarify, also on Sunday. Yeah, on Sunday, as Chris Gemman lightly touched on, I was a bit fizzed off. On review, when I reviewed my driving, it was actually just a skill issue, and nothing was wrong. So
I have that same problem every week, mate. I still can't get over it.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. I was being held at bay by somebody, and they didn't hear from me for about half the race. I just couldn't find a way past them. And then they defended well against me, and I took that for them driving by poorly, but really it was me driving poorly. So that's why you never heard from me on Sunday. I hopefully will be around this Sunday. But yeah, we'll see how it goes, and that championship's looking very hot on a Sunday for you guys to present as well. I think, I don't know about Pro Tier, but in Silver Tier, the top 10 are within 6 points of each other.
Madness.
So, nice and close, competitive, all around every tier in FRL. But I'll let you guys head off. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. And, well, we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you for having us.
Cheers. Take care, guys. So that was Greg Wood and Owen Harris. Jumped on to stream there a little bit of their insights. They are also our commentary team for FRL Super Sprint Sunday. That is live from 8 o'clock on Sunday evenings, as the name suggests. Make sure you catch that for the most exciting series in console sim racing. Great race tonight, fantastic win by Guzyanov, and he has led home Starklov and Glenn for the podium. We'll be back next week where we will be presenting the Silver Tier as they take on the challenges of Suzuka, one of the legendary tracks in Japan and a common mainstay on the F1 calendar. FRL had an opportunity to show us what it's like there next week. That'll be from 8:15 next Tuesday on this channel. Until then, take care of yourselves. All have a great evening. All the best. Good night from me.